Hello YouTube fans, here again. And I thought I'd do this one. I used to be a Doctor Who fan and I used to have this on video. That being the Daleks connection. Is it Doctor Who or is it not? But I like this one. It's got good art cover there, the two posters. I remember that and I remember that. That being the first one, Doctor Who and the Daleks, starring Peter Tussin as Doctor Who. Now, a lot of people say is he Doctor Who or is he not? And a lot of people prefer Ian Martin from the 60s. But I gotta admit, like, I do like Peter Tussin as Doctor Who. This was like a change from what Peter Tussin was doing. Now, as we already know, Peter Tussin at the time was well known for doing the old Hammer houses, from the days of Dracula to the days of Frankenstein and so on. So it was like a change and like a fashion to see Peter Tussin play a good guy, As we all know, for the late 70s, they had sci-fi like the original Star Wars, as Peter Tussin played one of the main villains. But I like him in this, I like him. It's refreshing to see him play it, and he does try and make it, he does try and play it, I should say, slightly different than how Ian Martin played it. And when you think about it, this was the first time you got to see Doctor Who in colour. The first time in Technicolor from the mid-60s. But again, it's slightly different than the TV version from BBC. And at the time, the company had to ask for the permissions and the rights to use the Daleks. And you could say this is technically a remake from the 1963 Doctor Who, when the Daleks made the first appearance, which was called City of the Daleks, as well as when they did the sequel to this, it was a follow-up one year after in 1966, called Daleks Invade Earth 2100, which again was another remake of the TV series from '64. It's not a bad one, the only reboots is, unlike the TV version where Ian Martin, who played Doctor Who, he was a Time Lord. He wasn't human, with his granddaughter. In this, he does have his granddaughter and also has another daughter. He's a human being. He's not a Time Lord, he's a human who's invented, as we all know, the TARDIS. And I do admit the TARDIS does look a bit messy compared to how it looked in the televised version of Doctor Who. But overall, it's not a bad one. And I do like the fact it's done on set. And again, this is the first time you see the Daleks in colour. The only debut when the TV series come out and the very first time you got to see the Daleks in colour, they all look black and miserable looking. In this, I've got to admit, I do love the way the Daleks look in this. I love the way they look. They're all colourful. And I do like the fact that when they exterminate you, you got smoke coming out, which made it slightly different. And you do get the Fords in it, if I remember right, the one there, the Fords, the big dice, they look very hippie looking. And I do admit they were moaning and crying the river. These were like big bucks men who had to save the chests and save all the hair off their bodies to make them actually look like the fowls. That's it, Fords, the fowls. And they got paid a lot more to do it. And one of the female fowls, very attractive actors, got a bit peed off because long below they had to dub over her voice. She never knew that. I do actually like the little girl, no longer a little girl, who played Doctor Who's granddaughter, as well as the older granddaughter in it. They get stuck, if you ever remember the film version, where they get stuck on the planet with the fowls, and you get the Daleks, They do get bits and bobs. If you ever remember the televised version, if it was around in 1963, when they did the first time we saw the Daleks, there are bits where, it's slightly like the TV version. Only, I think the TV one of the fowls sacrifices himself to save the others, where in this one he doesn't make it a downbeat. And I've always thought, though, in all fairness, I always thought the fowl was a bit of a wimp. Yeah, I did use a like Doctor Who from the golden days of TV and even on the movie versions. And I've got to admit, they've done a beautiful transfer on this DVD. And considering for the price of it, you had two movies. You had, like I say, you had Doctor Who and the Daleks, and you had Daleks, A Fade Earth, 20cc, which is another good one. Sad to say though, the follow-up of Doctor Who and the Daleks, A Fade Earth, 2050 AD wasn't as successful as Doctor Who and the Daleks. It didn't make as much money, so they didn't make any more. And it's the same. It's actually the same, because I would have loved to see what Peter Cushing would have done and what he would have brought to the role had he would have did more than just 2 movie versions of the Daleks. And again, I love the way the Daleks look. The Daleks do get the trumpets and the fouls, as you know, kick the shit out for them and batter them. And Doctor Who wins and he goes and go back in the TARDIS and fire off. The fire off. But I felt this was like different than your typical films and normally do, you know, blood in dawn and fire. It's professing to see this, because like I say, I used to like Doctor Who. I liked it. I think the 1960s had to be the best era for Doctor Who. Had to be the best. See, in my time, I used to do up, and I used to remember all the ones with Peter Davison. And a lot of people said, oh, John Baker, because he was considered to be the best in the olden times of Doctor Who. So in my later days, I watched some of the John Bakers. Then I watched John Pertwee as Doctor Who. And I mean, on TV, I got to see some of the classic golden days of black and white Doctor Who, whether it be Ira Martiner or Patsy Troughton. But it got me, I mean, at the time on TV and then on video, and then the technology changed, now on DVD. Which I picked this up at a Bitty Dud Pikes, upside down the doors. I did pick this up at a Dud Pikes. I got a bargain with this, you know what I mean? And that's when I got to see the movie versions of Doctor Who. What do I get for my DOS? You get 2 original trailers. And you get a biography of the 2 Doctor Who films, that being Doctor Who and the Daleks, and again, Daleks A Fade Earth, 50 AD. So you do get a good biography about the films and the success of Doctor Who's. And not only that, the biography is pretty interesting actually, because they talk a lot about Peter Cushing, the one that played the granddaughter. Talked about the time when she worked with Peter Cushing, what he was like, as well as the set. And not only that, they talk about all the things, what they sell, you know, like the Daleks, models of the Daleks, and even a jigsaw puzzle, what was around in that era, and how much it would be worth in the later era of Doctor Who. It would be worth like a lot of DOS if you kept any of those collectible pieces of Doctor Who in the golden days when Peter Davison, sorry, come on my head now, I mean Peter Cushing played Doctor Who, in the golden days when he played Doctor Who. But yeah, apart from some shaking, because my dog's shaking, this is actually a good DVD. I love the design of it. Made it look like a Dalek. Exterminate. Yeah, I just like it. I just like the fact that it's different. It's a different gnome. And yeah, what I was going to say about it, it's a good one. I like the fact it was done on set, and I like the fact that it was shot in colour. It was the first time people got to see colour. You get into the days of Tom Pertwee when he played Doctor Who. So again, that is Doctor Who and the Daleks. One day around the world, I'll probably talk about the second one. It may not have been as successful as the first one, but I like it. I do actually like Daleks A Fade Earth AD. It's a good one. So into then, if you like what you see, let me know. I'll do some more on the way. Into then, I'll see you soon.